There is a moment in every person's life when they realize that the greatest battle is not against the world. It is against the way they think. Most people spend years trying to change their circumstances, believing that happiness, confidence, and success are waiting somewhere outside themselves. They chase better opportunities, better relationships, better jobs, and better conditions. But no matter where they go, they carry the same mind with them. And if the mind remains unchanged, the results rarely change. Most people believe that reality is something that simply happens to them. They think their life is determined by luck, circumstances, other people, or events beyond their control. While these things certainly influence your journey, they do not define it. The greatest influence on your life is the way you think. Before any action takes place, a thought appears. Before any habit is formed, a belief exists. Before any achievement is reached, a mindset has already prepared the path. This is why two people can stand in the same situation and walk away with completely different results. One sees an obstacle that cannot be overcome, while the other sees an opportunity to become stronger. The environment is identical, but the mind interprets it differently. Your mind is constantly giving meaning to everything you experience. It decides whether criticism becomes motivation or discouragement. It decides whether failure becomes a lesson or a permanent excuse. It decides whether uncertainty becomes fear or adventure. The world presents situations, but your thinking determines the story you tell yourself about those situations. That story quietly influences every decision you make, often without you even noticing it. Imagine carrying a pair of colored glasses everywhere you go. If the lenses are dark, everything appears gloomy, even on the brightest day. If the lenses are clear, you notice possibilities that others overlook. Your mindset works the same way. It filters reality before you ever respond to it. This is why changing your external conditions without changing your thinking rarely produces lasting happiness. You may move to a new city, start a different career, or surround yourself with new people. But if your thinking remains trapped in fear, doubt, and negativity, those patterns will eventually recreate the same struggles in a different place. Many people unknowingly rehearse negative thoughts every day. They repeat phrases like, "I'm not good enough," "nothing ever works out," or "I'm always unlucky." These statements may seem harmless, but the mind treats repetition as truth. The more often you think something, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, those beliefs influence your choices. You hesitate to take risks because you expect failure. You avoid opportunities because you assume rejection. You settle for less because you believe you deserve less. The life you experience begins to reflect the expectations you have created. This does not mean you should ignore reality or pretend difficulties do not exist. A healthy mindset is not blind optimism. It is the ability to face challenges without allowing them to define your identity. You can acknowledge that something is difficult while still believing that you are capable of growing through it. That simple shift changes everything. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What can this teach me?" Instead of seeing every obstacle as proof that you should stop, you begin viewing obstacles as part of the process. The strongest minds understand that thoughts are choices that require attention. Not every thought deserves your trust. Fear speaks loudly, but it is not always telling the truth. Doubt often appears before meaningful progress. Comfort tries to convince you that staying the same is safer than growing. If you believe every thought that enters your mind, you become controlled by emotion instead of guided by purpose. Learning to question your automatic thinking creates space for wiser decisions. Every day, you are building your reality through countless small choices. The way you speak to yourself after making a mistake, the attitude you bring into difficult conversations, the willingness to keep learning after failure, and the courage to take one more step when progress feels slow all begin inside the mind. Long before success becomes visible to others, it has already taken root in the beliefs you practice repeatedly, shaping the person you become through consistent thought and intentional action. Life will never ask for your permission before presenting difficulties. Unexpected setbacks, unfair criticism, disappointment, failure, and uncertainty are part of every human experience. No amount of planning can completely eliminate these moments. Many people spend years trying to create a life where nothing goes wrong, believing that peace will finally arrive once every problem disappears. But the truth is that peace does not come from controlling every circumstance. It comes from learning to control your response. This is one of the greatest forms of strength a person can develop, because while the world remains unpredictable, your character does not have to be. Every situation presents two different realities. The first is what actually happened. The second is the meaning you choose to attach to it. The event itself may last only a few moments, but your interpretation can influence your thoughts, emotions, and actions for weeks or even years. Imagine two people losing the same opportunity. One believes it is proof that they are incapable and gives up. The other sees it as valuable feedback, improves their skills, and prepares for the next opportunity. The loss was identical, but the response created two completely different futures. Most emotional suffering comes not from the event itself, but from resisting reality. When people constantly ask, "Why is this happening to me?" they remain trapped in frustration because they focus on what cannot be changed. Energy is wasted wishing the past were different, instead of deciding what to do next. Acceptance is often misunderstood as weakness, but acceptance simply means recognizing reality without arguing with it. Once you accept what has happened, your attention becomes free to focus on what is still possible. This does not mean you should tolerate injustice or ignore difficult emotions. Anger, sadness, fear, and disappointment are natural reactions. The important question is whether those emotions become temporary visitors or permanent rulers of your life. Emotions provide information, but they should not become the foundation of every decision. Acting while consumed by anger often creates regret. Speaking while controlled by frustration often damages relationships. Quitting while overwhelmed by fear often destroys opportunities that might have changed your life. Learning to pause before reacting is one of the most powerful habits you can develop. Between what happens and how you respond, there is a brief moment of choice. Most people never notice it because they immediately react according to habit. Someone insults them and they insult back. Someone doubts them and they lose confidence. A challenge appears and they immediately assume defeat. These automatic reactions are not signs of strength. They are signs that circumstances are controlling the mind. A disciplined person creates space before responding. Instead of reacting instantly, they observe what is happening inside themselves. They notice the rising emotion without allowing it to dictate their behavior. This pause may last only a few seconds, but it changes everything. It allows wisdom to replace impulse and purpose to replace emotion. A calm response often solves problems that an emotional reaction would only make worse. Consider how much energy people lose trying to control things beyond their reach. They worry about other people's opinions, the weather, the economy, the past, or the future. None of these can be fully controlled, yet endless time is spent thinking about them. Meanwhile, the one thing they can always influence, their own attitude, effort, and behavior, is often neglected. Real strength comes from directing your attention toward what is within your control, instead of becoming consumed by what is not. Every challenge offers an opportunity to practice this mindset. Traffic becomes a lesson in patience. Criticism becomes an opportunity to strengthen emotional balance. Failure becomes a chance to gain experience. Delays become opportunities to develop persistence. Even painful moments can shape wisdom if you refuse to become a victim of them. The situation may remain difficult, but your response determines whether that difficulty becomes a source of bitterness or a source of growth. People often admire individuals who remain calm under pressure without realizing that such composure is rarely natural. It is trained through repeated practice. Each time you choose patience instead of anger, understanding instead of blame, or action instead of complaint, you strengthen your ability to respond with clarity rather than emotion. Over time, this way of thinking becomes part of your character, allowing you to remain steady even when life around you feels uncertain and unpredictable. One of the most important turning points in a person's life can they stop asking who is responsible for their problems and start asking what they can do about them. This shift may seem small, but it changes everything. As long as you believe your future depends entirely on other people's luck or circumstances, you give away your power. You become someone who waits instead of someone who acts. Growth begins the moment you accept responsibility for your own choices, your habits, and the direction of your life. Responsibility is often misunderstood. Many people think it means blaming yourself for everything that has happened. It does not. There are situations you never chose. You did not choose where you were born, the family you grew up in, or many of the hardships you may have faced. Life can be unfair, and some challenges are undeniably greater than others. Taking responsibility does not mean pretending those realities never existed. It means deciding that your future will not be controlled by your past. It means recognizing that while you cannot rewrite yesterday, you can influence what happens next. People who constantly blame others may feel temporary relief because responsibility is uncomfortable. It is easier to point at circumstances than to examine your own actions. It is easier to criticize the world than to improve yourself. But blame has a hidden cost. Every time you say someone else is entirely responsible for your life, you also declare that someone else holds the power to change it. This creates helplessness. It encourages waiting instead of working, complaining instead of learning, and wishing instead of growing. Responsibility gives you something much more valuable than comfort. It gives you control. Even in difficult situations, there is almost always a decision you can make. You can choose to learn a new skill. You can choose to improve your health. You can choose to manage your time more wisely. You can choose to respond with patience instead of anger. These choices may seem small, but they create momentum. Every responsible action reminds your mind that you are not powerless. The quality of your life is shaped by the quality of your daily decisions. Success is rarely built through one dramatic moment. It is built through countless ordinary choices that most people overlook. Choosing to wake up when your alarm rings instead of pressing snooze. Choosing to keep your word even when no one is watching. Choosing to finish what you started instead of chasing constant distractions. These decisions strengthen your character because they prove that your actions are guided by principles rather than convenience. Many people wait until they feel motivated before taking responsibility. They tell themselves they will start exercising when they feel inspired, begin studying when they feel confident, or pursue their dreams when fear disappears. This mindset keeps them trapped because motivation is unpredictable. Some days it is present, and some days it is not. Responsibility teaches a different lesson. You act because it is the right thing to do, not because you happen to feel like doing it. Over time, consistent action creates confidence, and confidence replaces hesitation. Taking responsibility also means being honest with yourself. It requires the courage to admit mistakes without making excuses. This honesty is not about harsh self-criticism. It is about seeing reality clearly. If you fail, ask what you can learn. If you make a poor decision, examine why it happened. If a habit is leading you away from the life you want, have the discipline to change it. Honest reflection allows improvement because it replaces denial with awareness. Responsibility transforms challenges into opportunities for growth. Instead of asking, who caused this? You begin asking, what can I do now? That question directs your attention towards solutions instead of problems. It trains your mind to focus on action rather than frustration. Even when progress is slow, each step forward strengthens your belief that your efforts matter. This belief becomes the foundation of resilience because you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start creating progress with whatever resources you already have. The strongest individuals are not those who have lived without difficulty. They are the ones who refuse to let difficulty become an excuse for remaining the same. They understand that while they cannot control every event in life, they can always control the standards they choose to live by, the habits they practice each day, and the decisions that gradually shape their future into something better than their past. Discipline is often misunderstood as something harsh, restrictive, or joyless. Many people imagine it as forcing yourself to suffer or giving up everything you enjoy. In reality, discipline is one of the greatest forms of self-respect. It is the ability to choose what matters most over what feels good in the moment. It is not about punishing yourself. It is about strengthening your mind so that your decisions are guided by purpose instead of impulse. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce the belief that your words have value. Every time you choose consistency over comfort, your mind becomes stronger. The human mind naturally seeks what is easy. It wants immediate pleasure, quick rewards, and the path of least resistance. There is nothing unusual about this tendency. The challenge begins when comfort becomes your permanent lifestyle. A life built around avoiding discomfort slowly weakens your ability to handle challenges. Simple tasks begin to feel overwhelming. Small setbacks appear enormous. The mind loses confidence because it has never been trained to remain steady when things become difficult. Discipline changes this pattern by teaching you to act regardless of how you feel. Some mornings you wake up energized and motivated. On those days, taking action feels easy. But real discipline reveals itself on the mornings when motivation is absent. It appears when you are tired, distracted, or discouraged, yet you still choose to do what needs to be done. This is where mental strength is built. Anyone can work hard when they feel inspired. Few people continue when inspiration disappears. Every disciplined action sends a powerful message to your subconscious mind. It says, I can trust myself. This trust becomes the foundation of confidence. Many people believe confidence comes before action, but the opposite is often true. Confidence grows because of repeated action. Every completed workout, every finished project, every promise you keep to yourself becomes evidence that you are capable of following through. Over time, your identity begins to change. You no longer see yourself as someone who gives up easily. You become someone who finishes what they start. Discipline also protects you from becoming controlled by temporary emotions. Feelings constantly change. One day you feel excited, the next day uncertain, and another day completely unmotivated. If your actions depend entirely on your emotions, your progress will always be inconsistent. A disciplined person understands that emotions are unreliable leaders. They acknowledge how they feel without allowing those feelings to decide their future. They continue moving forward because their commitment is stronger than their mood. Small daily habits often seem insignificant, yet they shape your character more than dramatic moments. Reading a few pages every day may not feel life-changing, but over the course of a year it transforms your knowledge. Exercising consistently may not produce immediate results, but each session strengthens both your body and your mind. Waking up on time may seem ordinary, yet it reinforces responsibility and self-control. Success is rarely created through occasional bursts of effort. It is built through ordinary actions, repeated with extraordinary consistency. Many people wait for perfect conditions before becoming disciplined. They believe they need more time, more energy, or better circumstances. This way of thinking becomes another excuse for delay Perfect conditions rarely exist. There will always be distractions, unexpected problems, and moments of uncertainty. Discipline teaches you to begin with what you have rather than waiting for what you wish you had. Progress belongs to those who act despite imperfect conditions, not those who endlessly prepare without taking meaningful steps. Discipline is also closely connected to freedom. At first, this may sound contradictory, but consider the alternative. A person who lacks discipline becomes controlled by cravings, distractions, procrastination, and unhealthy habits. They may believe they are free because they do whatever they feel like doing, yet their impulses quietly control their life. A disciplined person gains a different kind of freedom. They are free from constantly regretting poor decisions. They are free from being controlled by every passing emotion. They are free to pursue meaningful goals because they have trained themselves to stay focused even when the journey becomes uncomfortable. Every difficult choice strengthens your ability to make the next one. Every time you resist the urge to quit, every time you remain focused instead of giving in to distraction, and every time you choose long-term growth over short-term comfort, you build a mind that becomes increasingly resilient, dependable, and prepared to face challenges with quiet determination instead of hesitation. Challenges are often seen as interruptions to life, but they are actually part of life itself. Many people believe that happiness will finally arrive when problems disappear, when everything becomes predictable, and when every goal is achieved without resistance. This expectation creates endless frustration because difficulties are unavoidable. Every meaningful journey includes obstacles, setbacks, disappointment, and uncertainty. The question is not whether challenges will appear. The question is how you choose to see them. Your perspective determines whether an obstacle becomes a wall that stops you or a step that helps you grow. Every challenge carries a hidden lesson. Sometimes that lesson is patience. Sometimes it is humility. Sometimes it teaches resilience, courage, discipline, or wisdom. These qualities cannot be developed in comfort alone. Just as muscles grow by working against resistance, character grows by facing difficulty. Without resistance, there is no reason to become stronger. Without uncertainty, there is little opportunity to develop courage. The very experiences you wish to avoid often contain the greatest opportunities for transformation. Many people ask, why is this happening to me? Whenever life becomes difficult, this question keeps the mind focused on frustration and self-pity. It encourages the belief that challenges are unfair punishments rather than valuable teachers. A more powerful question is, what is this trying to teach me? That single change shifts your attention away from blame and toward growth. Instead of feeling trapped by the situation, you begin searching for wisdom within it. Even painful experiences become meaningful when they contribute to your development. Failure is one of the greatest examples of this truth. Society often treats failure as something shameful, causing many people to fear mistakes more than missed opportunities. They avoid taking risks because they worry about looking unsuccessful. Yet every skilled person has failed repeatedly before reaching mastery. Every expert was once a beginner who made countless errors. The difference is that successful individuals view failure as information rather than identity. They understand that a failed attempt simply reveals what needs improvement. Imagine learning to walk as a child. If every fall convinced you that walking was impossible, you would never have taken another step. Instead, you stood up again without questioning your ability to learn. Somewhere along the way, many people lose this natural resilience. They begin expecting perfection from themselves. One mistake becomes proof that they are incapable. One rejection convinces them to stop trying. This mindset prevents growth because it values comfort over progress. Challenges also reveal strengths you may not know you possess. It is easy to feel confident when life is smooth and predictable. True confidence is discovered during uncertainty. When plans fall apart, When resources become limited, or when unexpected hardships appear, you are forced to rely on qualities that comfort never required. You become more creative, more adaptable, and more resilient because the situation demands it. Many people discover their greatest abilities only after being pushed beyond what they believed were their limits. Every obstacle also provides an opportunity to practice emotional discipline. Difficult people teach patience. Delays teach persistence. Criticism teaches emotional balance. Loss teaches gratitude for what remains. Pressure teaches focus. Instead of seeing these experiences as enemies, you can begin viewing them as training partners that strengthen your character. The situation itself may not be pleasant, but the person you become because of it can be far stronger than the person you were before. Nature constantly demonstrates this principle. Diamonds are formed under immense pressure. Trees become stronger when they withstand powerful winds. Rivers carve through solid rock, not through force alone, but through consistent movement over time. Strength is not created by avoiding difficulty. It is created by moving through it with persistence and purpose. Human beings are no different. Your greatest periods of growth often follow your greatest periods of struggle because hardship forces you to develop qualities that comfort leaves untouched. This does not mean you should seek unnecessary suffering or pretend that painful experiences are enjoyable. Grief, disappointment, and hardship are real, and they deserve to be acknowledged honestly. The lesson is not to celebrate pain, but to refuse to let pain define your future. Every challenge gives you a choice. You can become bitter, or you can become wiser. You can allow setbacks to weaken your spirit, or you can use them to strengthen your resolve. Over time, this habit of looking for opportunity within difficulty transforms not only the way you face obstacles, but also the kind of person you become whenever life asks more of you. Your mind is the place where every decision begins. Before you speak, your mind forms the words. Before you act, your mind creates the intention. Before you succeed or give up, your mind shapes the belief that guides your next step. Yet many people spend more time caring for their appearance than they do caring for the condition of their thoughts. They exercise their bodies but neglect their minds. They protect their possessions but allow endless negativity, distractions, and unhealthy influences to enter their thinking without resistance. A strong life begins with a strong mind, and a strong mind must be trained with the same consistency as any other valuable skill. The quality of your thinking is influenced by what you repeatedly consume. Every conversation, every book, every video, every piece of music, and every social media post leaves a small impression on your mind. One moment may seem insignificant, but repeated exposure shapes your beliefs over time. If you constantly surround yourself with fear, anger, gossip, and negativity, those patterns slowly become familiar. Your thoughts begin to reflect what you repeatedly absorb. In the same way, when you fill your mind with wisdom, discipline, gratitude, and meaningful ideas, your thinking gradually changes in a healthier direction. Your attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Wherever your attention goes, your energy follows. Many people lose control of their attention without realizing it. They wake up and immediately begin scrolling through endless information. They allow notifications, opinions, and distractions to determine where their focus goes. By the end of the day, they feel mentally exhausted without having spent meaningful time on what truly matters. A distracted mind struggles to create a focused life because scattered attention produces scattered results. Protecting your mind means becoming selective about what deserves your focus. Not every argument deserves your participation. Not every criticism deserves your emotional energy. Not every piece of news deserves your constant attention. Learning to say no to unnecessary distractions creates space for deeper thinking. Silence, reflection, and focused work become possible only when your attention is no longer controlled by everything happening around you. Training your mind also requires spending time alone with your thoughts. Many people avoid silence because it feels uncomfortable. They fill every quiet moment with noise, entertainment, or endless activity. Yet silence reveals what constant distraction hides. It allows you to notice your habits of thinking, your fears, your desires, and your true priorities. Without moments of reflection, it becomes difficult to understand yourself. A calm mind is not created by escaping reality, but by becoming familiar with your own inner world. Gratitude is another powerful form of mental training. The human mind naturally notices problems because it is designed to identify potential threats. While this ability can be useful, it also causes many people to overlook the good that already exists in their lives. They become so focused on what they lack that they forget to appreciate what they already have. Practicing gratitude does not mean ignoring challenges. It means refusing to let challenges become the only thing your mind notices. A grateful mind develops resilience because it continues to recognize value even during difficult seasons. Reading meaningful books, learning new skills, and seeking conversations with wise people also strengthen the mind. Every lesson you learn expands your understanding of yourself and the world. Knowledge alone is not enough, however. Wisdom grows when knowledge is practiced consistently. A single idea applied every day is more valuable than hundreds of ideas that are quickly forgotten. Mental training is not about collecting information. It is about transforming information into daily habits that improve the quality of your life. Just as physical fitness requires regular exercise, mental strength requires daily practice. Missing one workout does not destroy your health, but neglecting exercise for months weakens the body. The same principle applies to the mind. Small moments of discipline, repeated every day, create lasting change. Choosing patience during conflict, remaining calm under pressure, focusing on meaningful work, and replacing negative self-talk with constructive thinking may seem like ordinary actions, but together they build extraordinary resilience. Over time, these daily choices shape your character more than occasional moments of inspiration ever could. A protected and well-trained mind becomes less reactive, more focused, and more capable of handling life's uncertainties with clarity. It learns to recognize distractions without following them, to face adversity without surrendering to fear, and to remain grounded in purpose, even when the world encourages constant comparison, endless noise, and short-term gratification. But if you protect your mindset, you have not lost your greatest strength. Because a strong mind can rebuild what circumstances destroy. Everything you want in life begins with the way you choose to think. Change your thinking and your actions change. Change your actions and your habits change. Change your habits and your life changes. Mindset is not just part of success. Mindset is where success begins.